to use the two pedal mats. This case, kids visually can place one hand on each pedal. This case, we make sure they don't ever go sideways. And I'm going to go, guys, faster with the basics since we spend a lot of time. This is a great exercise, cartwheel, quarter turn, tight roll to keep their chest down. We talked about this morning. I like the 2-3 hops. In this case, they build up low, long hurdle. The only thing I would like to see her that she stays more folded and she tries to hit the lower part of the resi with her back, not the top. We don't want to do rebounds. You guys see how by the time she steps, she's already back. So now you're falling. The key in back down is to have support, but the body to be here. Now I can use that for my next kick. If I step, but I'm already here, I'm just falling. So that's why I think she could do a little bit better. We'll do a couple seconds on back handspring. So I like this skill because one of the biggest challenges is from the hands, kids try to stop to stand up too early because they know the next skill is coming. Could be your Chenko vault, could be double out. So one of the keys, we want to get the back handspring to keep the body folded. In order, right, if I finish back handspring here, now I can maybe go this much for a twist, or I can go for double out this much. I have a lot of range of motion because I created support already, but without opening the body. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do. Trying to keep him folded like a spring. I fold the spring in order to unfold it. See, when they try to stop, you can see how they stand up straight. Right? So, again, straight line, looks nice, but doesn't have power on tumbling. So that's right, Miss. You guys see, do you see where she's looking at the eyes? I tried to put this video, and we do a lot, so she's getting better, but we're trying to watch the first hand versus, you can see how her eyes are looking backwards. Any question, guys, about round-up by handspring before we start talking about whips? All right. So what's a whip? Pretty much it's a high back handspring. And why we always talk about if you don't do the elite program or the top scopes, you'll never get, there's no skills in the JO program that your kids will be exposed to rotational skills. Everything is rebounding skills. And to me, the whip is this. The whip is so important in rotation because if one side stays mobile, I pull the other side, now then I add speed. Versus bring the bungee closer, there's no tension. So that's why when we do the whips, it is not a low layout. So we'll do a couple of ideas, couple of drills that pretty much lead the feet, move the arms as far as possible from the legs, and lead and stop the arms. Then the feet will come with a lot of speed. And the goal on the whip, again, try to do a C drop after that.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Can you quickly show the drill right before this one? I'm sorry. I missed it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
We'll do whips in a row. You guys see how the first is good and the second one goes, so she starts low, then slowly she's trying to stand up because she wants to stop. Every time we want to stop, we got to get to a straight line. And sometimes they get to the point that they went so high up, the feet already here, and now they're falling this way, right? So we want to chest to be slow, feet to be fast. So that's what we're looking for in the whips. All right, let's do the exciting part now. Because we all want to go home with doubles. All right, So guys, so there are two ways we teach doubles, right? If we follow from a high level weight, we pretty much want to punch the floor and do double back, right? We all know that center of mass going up give us the best rotation. So this technique that I'm going to talk about, if you have a stronger physically athlete, this is a good way to do it. With the weaker kids, they can't punch the floor. So I rather use a different technique than punching, because little kids can't punch. Also, a lot of punching the wrong angles. You're going to start putting ankles, Achilles into, they're going to talk to you. So I like layouts. I like twisting to use rebounds. On the double saltos, I like to use different techniques. So, but I'll show you pretty much. This is one way to do it. Jump high. Right? We all know that one. We're all familiar with this way. So, what I like to teach, it's pretty much I call the catapult effect. Which means, from here, something goes down. If the top comes down, the bottom goes up. Right? We have an equipment that round the mechanism is going to compress it. It's going to do this. With a trampoline, with a tumble truck, and if you stay on it, and I move back, the equipment should bounce me up. So think about this way, when you teach kids cascades and bars, do you do first the leaning part, or you do first the heels? What would be your answer, guys? The lean, exactly. The new kids, when they try cast, they work so hard, right? They start arching, pushing early. As they get better, they figure out, well, if I lean, then I can delay my leg skip. So back thumb will be the same thing. Lean to get the hips up. So that's what we're talking about. And another good example is teeterboard in circus. A guy steps on one end, two guys jump on this side, and they're bouncing out, right? If he needs to go higher, does he work harder, or you put more weight on this side? I want to throw rocks to you. Here are the rocks. Do I push this side, or count? I do the lever on this side. You follow me what I'm saying? So what we're going to talk about, that's where the arms are very, very important. Because they have length and they have weight. So, as we were talking about earlier, I showed you the candle when we all want to bring the hips up as a rotation. But what can you do so the hips, they're not action, they become reaction? What can I do with my body so the hips can fly up by themselves? And I think it's this one. And this is good actually conditioning. I think we do a great job conditioning the kids in a hollow shape, but we don't do gymnastics conditioning and making the speed of the body bend. So this exercise, maybe 10 in a row with the loudest hip they can do, is going to speed up, is going to work their stomach muscle, the core. And I always say, when we do tumbling, guys, don't tumble from the legs. Tumble from the core and from the arms. The legs provide support only. But the body is going to flip to the fastest answer, right? You bring the arms to bring the hips out. So I want to talk about today about using this way of flipping. So we'll do a few side stations. So I put this one so you can see that because she bent so early, see, you can see how, because she thinks about the pipe, her center of mass is very low. And this is a common mistake, right? Versus what I'm looking for, I'm looking for her shoulders to go back. You guys see the hip elevation? Much different than the first one. So that's what I'm trying to, I want everything to go through a whip. Again, we never leave the support first. We move the farthest end from the support. We bend the body so much, like I just showed you. See, the more my top goes down, look at where my legs go. That's what I'm looking for. So when we talk about height and rotation, we want to rotate on the second flip up. Our first flip should not be your highest point. Your first flip should go low, so you flip on the way up. Now I like to use the backward roll because again, this is exaggeration, keeping the chest low so I created early support so I can move the momentum. Versus right? You cannot do, if your chest move high, all you can do is this. So this is kind of another idea, because when we do double doubles, we don't do full anymore. We need to do almost like the boys used to do Thomas and a half, because it gives you the ability to spot the floor early. So double double is not a full. It's a more full and a quarter, half out. All right? So there's a few ideas that then show this early and hold. We do this a lot for the double delts in order to delay the arms. Because especially on floor, vault it's even worse because they have so much speed, their hands are down and they're just trying to do this. Right? So we do this exercise, so we teach them to roll in arms to be the last thing to hit. We're just trying to delay. Let's think about this one. I'm going to put an example that probably it's a little bit easier to understand. If we're on bars, how late you're going to tap is going to determine the rotation of your double, right? So if I need to do flyweight, I don't need rotation. I can tap here on the flyweight. If I do this on a double delt, I'm going to go straight up and I'm just going to crash down, right? There's no rotation. There's height, there's no rotation. So what do? I hold my giant later to do this, so my hips delay the kick. Now when I'm on floor, how much I delay my hip with the arms, how late I tap with my arms, is going to determine the rotation of the body. So that's what we do this time. Alright, so we're going to start pretty much trampoline is the best way. Some gymnasts do it from a jump, some people do it from a back tap. I like the back tap because it gets you to the point that I can arch, versus sometimes kids have a tough time synchronizing that body and downs. But so this example, you can see there is no much height because she leaves the trampoline with her feet. Right? Versus we talked about earlier, I want to leave the trampoline with my upper body. Low to high. And in fact, on trampoline we should start teaching from a low to a pipe to a tuck. I know it makes logic sense to you to do tuck to pipe to low, but the natural instinct on the double tuck is to bend the legs further because they want to grab it. And when you bend the legs further, you don't use the equipment as much. As I said earlier, you have equipment that was doing this. If I do tuck and the equipment is already down, I don't use the bounce of it. So that's why, especially in a safe environment, something like this, start with the layup to the pipe to the top. You can see, the lower she can get on the first one, the higher the hips will go on the second one. You can see, right? I mean, and I'm talking about those kids at 10, 11 years old. You can see almost at the hand, if you didn't know what she's doing, her arms almost touch the trampoline. But again, we will low on the first, high on the second, in order, especially with the deductions and lead program, we want to land straight here. So if it goes too much in the first one, you always want to under rotate. You can see clearly the double much lower here, second rising up. And by the way, double is much easier than full end. I know it doesn't sound right to you, but again, we've tried with so many kids, and you're going to see even championships, you watch the classic, double is much easier skill-wise because there's a lot of torque. The more you spin, the more energy you create, if done right. If you go up on the first one, comes down, no rotation. If the first one goes down, then it's going to be a lot more rotation. We'll talk about later, because I think there's a specific way we can teach this. All right, so we'll do the same thing in tumble truck. We can see a lot of rotation. Why? Because leaning down, like I said, my goal is, again, can I move? She's on the tumble truck. Can I move her arms away from the legs so the legs snap? That's why you see a lot of rotation. Now, if I keep the bungee ends closed and I let go, nothing happens, right? Because there's no tension. even double tuck. Has a round of a handspring, lean, and then you bend. The leg should bend second. They never bend before the body. And we all seen the example, kids even go this way, right? They're almost going backwards, but they're leaning forward rotation. Another, I think, mistake on tumbling is to circle the arms. That's an old style. Because every time when you circle, you're doing this. The goal is to doing this. Now, by the way, I have to do less than a double from this position. More than a double from this position. So that's why there's no circle. I know back in the 80s, 90s, it was called the Russian technique when you bend your knees too early, do this one. I don't encourage this anymore because there's an easier way to do tumbling. Right? So again, in a fight, you can see arms are way back here. Almost the goal is to touch the heels. Almost from here. And the reason she's able to do this is because by the time she finishes round of a handspring, her body is still here. From a support, I can go here. From here, I cannot go backwards. I just start doing this. So that's why we need to fight until the feet create support. Then you can move your arms as much as you want. And by the way, that's any sport. You do tennis, you do baseball, you never swing before creating support. It's always support, then you swing, right? It doesn't matter what you do. So on the Arabian, I'm not looking for turn. I want the leading arm, like a full-in double-double. We'll talk about, let's say I'm right? Let's see which way she goes. She goes to the right? I want the leading elbow to be lower than the other elbow. In their mind. If I go big slow motion, they might raise the arm, but on a double, since I don't twist, I go around this axis, my arms have to go up. On a twisting, I can cheat. Because from here, I can load a lot more for my second flip to go high. So when they do full-ins, Arabians, double-double, double-out, let's not get the arms up. Because their intention for arms up, they go this way. So go from here, short. Leading elbow almost to hit the thigh here. In order to do full, I have to drop my right shoulder down, right, on the right twist. You can clearly see how the second flip rises. It's much higher than the first one. Now, this is the progression for the bio skill. The only thing is you can see she is doing incorrect. It's when she turns, her eyes go forward. And I just showed earlier, if your head, this has now become a front twist, front skill. So she's leaning forward. Every time when on a front skill, the eyes move before the body, she's going to land with her hips back. That's when they're locking the knees. So you want to, the correct way is, when you do bios, is to spot in front, to do this. In this case, we're going to travel forward with the hips, versus the natural instinct is to do this. If you do this, you're going to get to here. So just be careful, they don't mess up the knees. As you can see, that was a lot better. I'll go a couple times. Look at her eyes at the end. How long she's spotting the end of the tumble truck. Another thing important, arms to finish behind. Just like yesterday we talked about left. If the arms move again in front of the body, she's going to get to this position. So from here, let's say in this case, I think she is right. Okay, so on the right twist, from here, we open the left hand first to stop the rotation, and then the right arm. So that's what we're looking for, but eyes look always in front. and then double double is probably one of the easiest one. You guys can see it clearly. Why is double double layout easier than tuck? Because again, on a straight legs, look at how much she leans down, guys. The lower you can lean, the higher the second flip is going to get. You guys see the rising on the second flip? That's what we're chasing. It is never first flip up on a double salto. Alright, so when we do double layout timers, I'm looking for a long whip. I never see go up, I never want to see this. I want to see what's the longest they can go. Because if the knees buckle forward, they're landing short. If the body moves back, that means they really push to the feet. So obviously, be careful. Maybe have a mat or something, make it a little bit higher. But that's what we're looking for. A lot of rotation. So I always say the good technique is always good for the weak kids, obviously. If your athlete is very strong physically, they can get away with some proper technique. Why? Because they're physically strong. But here's the problem when you count on punching. Monday to Thursday, that's going to vary because if the legs are tired or the floor is harder, you're not going to produce the same punch. Or your last pass on floor might not be as easy by trying to punch. Versus range of motion, it's much more consistent. Just like we teach tap swing and bars. The bigger the tap, the more the power. And I'll not be afraid to put this double on floor. It's a lot of rotation. Now, when the kids are young and they start learning double L, let them make a long double L. Because we talked about this morning, the more the body travels, the more energy you guys are going to create. So at the beginning, because their arms are not quick enough, they're going to stay a little bit lower, but the body's going to go longer. And as they get better, the faster they get the arms down, the higher is going to go the second one. And again, since those kids were probably, Corner probably was about 10 years old, 11 when she started doing it, right, Gary? So those guys don't have muscles. They cannot punch the floor as, let's say, Ali and Simone. You know, they got a lot more weight. So what we use speed. All we need the round up against is to compress, to bend the body, and from here we're just trying to use this to rotate. And at the range, we've been pretty successful. Our youngest kid that did double down on a rough floor in this environment was 9 years old. So we know this works. A little bit I like to see her head staying, watching the rough floor at the end, a little bit longer. You see, very similar, all the skills we've been working, that first lower, second higher. First flip down, second flip up. The last class we had 3 girls competed double L, double twist on floor, so that was pretty good. It's, like I said, this is very easy. As long as they have a good awareness, if they know how to properly, they do round up against me, they load the floor, twisting is nothing. Actually, the more they twist,